Hello, friends. Hello, hello, hello. My name is Svava Brooks, and if you're here watching the replay, thank you so much for stopping by. As a trauma coach, I love to hang out here on YouTube, Periscope, Tuesdays and Thursdays, 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, as I share with my fellow survivors that are on the healing journey after child abuse, trauma, or neglect, how we can heal and restore. Oops, I'm watching the YouTube video and looks like there's a little bit of a delay there. So I hope this goes okay today. So if you're, like I said, if you're watching the replay, thank you so much. If you want to learn more about how I assist trauma survivors in recovery, you can visit my website, svavabrooks.com. And also you can subscribe here on YouTube and or go below the video where I will put links to more information about what we're doing here in this very special place. But if you're here live, then please, please, please say hello. Let us know that you're here so we can welcome you and celebrate you and invite you to jump in and be a part of our conversation today. We've been working our way through my book, Releasing Your Authentic Self, because that's really what the healing journey is all about, right? Digging out the truth about who we are. So, hey friend, hey tribal, welcome. And so we do that one day, right? One day at a time. And sometimes that work is hard work. And it's so much easier to do in a community. And so that's why we want to welcome you and celebrate you. And so you don't have to be a part of our community to participate in this conversation. We welcome all. Feel free to also, if you have any questions about trauma or healing or what we're up to, please post them and we'll get back to you or answer them. And if I don't know the answer here, I will turn it over to our tribe because there is lots of wisdom in this community. So with that, thank you guys, and welcome. Also, just a quick reminder, if you are on YouTube and this conversation is helping you, please give me a thumbs up. And of course, the hearts over here on Periscope are much appreciated. Thank you, friends. Thank you. So, hey, Rob. Hey, Sue. Hey, Wanda. Everybody's here. How are you guys? What's new and good? I know we're not going to talk politics. We're not going to talk about any of that. So that's why I asked what's new and good. Let's focus on that. Done did already, Rob. That's good. So we see one of our tribe members is going on a journey. This is going to be very interesting to see where she is going on a journey. I love the pictures, Sue, that you posted in the Facebook group. You gotta love those kitties. I'm not saying anything. I don't know anything. But with my two cats, every time I pull out the suitcase and pack it up and get ready to go on trips, they're like, they get nosy. So our friend Tribal Zeus, where are you from? Hey, Yoon Talk, how are you? We're glad you're here. Please let us know what we can call you. And we are okay with code names, right? That's okay. But let us know where you're from, because we have right here, I'm coming to you from Portland, Oregon today, usually from Portland, Oregon, born and raised in Iceland. But we have Georgia in the house. We have UK here. All right, Suze, I have trouble with Z's. Orange County, California. Today we are talking about our inner critic. So we're going to talk a little bit about our inner critic, but we're also just talking about healing from trauma, healing from neglect or trauma. We are doing our best in this space to normalize that conversation. It helps for us to know that we are not alone. So when we hear from others, both about some of their struggles, their challenges, we recognize, oh my goodness, I thought I was the only one who struggled with this. But when we hear other people express those very same challenges, at least for me, it was a huge relief. Thanks for asking. I am not a psychologist. I consider myself a trauma coach. So I've been facilitating and supporting survivors in groups, in person or online since 2000 and I need to look up the exact date. It's a little blurry. 2012, 2013. And I've been working one-on-one with survivors for about the last 5 to 6 years. So, and as a survivors, I've written 2 workbooks. I wrote the books that I needed, the workbooks that I was looking for. Once I recognized I was past the stage of recognizing that I had been victimized, right? We can't skip that stage or that part. We really have to accept something bad happened. And I know it's like I was so eager to become a survivor. I quickly kind of skipped over that part, the feeling part, the acceptance part, the understanding the impact of trauma on me part. So once I started my healing journey, it was very much like going forward and back and forward and back and forward and back for a long time. But then once I recognized, wait a minute, I've done a really good job of the healing, but now I am ready to really start to thrive. And I knew it would really, but I was looking for guides. Can someone show me what that looks like? Because I recognized it was almost like a lifestyle change. So yes, I have read Eckhart Tolle. Yes, this healing journey is very much a spiritual journey. And that's also why I love to empower people here. I have a mindfulness course that I've based on positive psychology that I support people through. I am also a certified tension and trauma release practitioner. So I talk a lot about the body. I talk a lot about what trauma does to our bodies and our nervous system. So glad you're asking all those questions. Thank you. Thank you, Wanda. You like my hair? It's getting pretty long. Yeah, I did a little extra blow dry today. So no, it's actually, I am due for a little bit of a haircut. So just to trim the ends. But I am grateful for my lovely hair. One of my things that I love the most about myself. As a little girl, I've always had very thick hair. I hated putting, a hat on my head as a little girl when it was cold out. I tell my mom, I don't need a hat. I have all this hair. I'd be sweating underneath the hat. So what do you think about spirituality? I think it's awesome. My spirituality, my God is love. So I meditate, and I'm a Reiki practitioner. So I believe we are all connected. We are all connected, my friend. And the more the healing journey, it's like the more I healed myself, the deeper I connected inside of my body, the more I loved and appreciated my body and what I'd been through, the more I felt connected to whatever you want to call God, spirit, universe, nature, Mother Earth. So it's been an more interesting journey. And of course, the more empowered and more alive I felt and really in love, then you can't help yourself to help to share the good news. And that is what brings me here. Once I figured out how to heal my heart, I could not help but share that with others, because sometimes this information is the best kept secret. And that's why I'm here. in this public forum with you. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks, Rob, right? Hey, Sharon. Weather report feels like Sarah with wind chill. Where are you, Sharon? That is cold. Hey, Elizabeth. We're glad that you're here. Thank you. You must have seen pictures of my kids on Facebook. Yes, I have beautiful kids. I sure do. My pride and joy, my pride and joy. My reason, what made me start on this healing journey was to become a better parent, to actually know how to parent, to know how to love me so I could model that for them. And so that brings us here. So thank you for asking. Thank you for asking. Yeah, the picture, the memory picture I shared on Facebook today was from like 2011. My son was, you know, teeny tiny. Now he's taller than me. So time flies, time flies. So the topic of today, right? Our inner critic. Albany, upstate New York. Will stay warm, Sharon, stay warm. So I'm going to put a question out to you guys. Where does our inner critic come from? Where does our inner critic come from? Any thoughts? Yes. Yes, we do go deep in this space. Sometimes I tell people, put on your life jacket because we're going deep today. But we do it with a lot of love and compassion. Hey, Kabir. Sorry if I messed up your pronunciation. Sue, our inner critic comes from the past, trauma brain, low self-worth. Yes, yes, and yes. From the desire to be accepted, I thought I had to be perfect to deserve acceptance. I hear you. I hear you. So all of the above, right? So let's just start with, right, we all have an inner critic. Yes, Kabir, feel free to ask. And if I can't answer the question right away, I'll remember to come back to it. Or maybe some of the tribe members here are happy to answer. So our inner critic, right? We all have an inner critic, right? And our inner critic is here for a good reason, right? Our inner critic is kind of like exactly, it's part of our ego. It's the part of us that kind of deals with the outside world, the part of us that wants to make sure we fall in line, that we follow the rules, that we look good, right? That we do as what we're told, right? So it's definitely an important part of what it is, you know, to be human. It's also part of the ego. Yes. So, but where the inner critic goes wrong, or right or wrong or bad, it is when the inner critic starts to kind of feed on itself, right? And that's especially hard for us survivors, even though this is common for most people. We struggle with our inner critic. And the hardest part for us in the beginning is to become aware of the inner critic and the power that it holds over us. So most of us can recognize on some days we just feel like crap and we just can't get one foot in front of the other, or it's just like we just feel depressed or overwhelmed, or like, oh, just life feels so hard, or something happened, like something didn't go according to the plan, or you tried something and you fell short, right? And then you just end up feeling so horribly bad about yourself. And for me in the beginning, again, it was because I didn't necessarily hear the critic. my inner critic was so normal in my mind, I didn't even hear it. So the inner critic tends to come out when what? When we feel down, when we need some compassion and understanding the most. Rob says, I can't see any other chat except mine and my signal's cutting out. Okay. Well, Rob, if you want to scroll and head on over to Periscope, I am noticing that YouTube is a little delayed here today. I can see it on my end, so, but maybe on Periscope, maybe there's a better signal over there. So if anybody else is seeing me drop in and out, then my apologies, but sometimes technology is out of my hands. So anyways, so what I was saying about the inner critic. So the inner critic is here for a reason, right? It's trying to keep you safe. It's trying to protect us. It's trying to make sure that we conform. But when our inner critic, it gets kind of out of control, then it is really, it's almost like the part of us that self-harms, meaning it's very abusive towards us. And so what's helpful when we're working to understand the inner critic is to start to notice when and where and how it shows up. So the key things are, right? Start to notice the words. Start to notice the words that the inner critic uses when you talk to yourself. Like, do you sometimes hear the words? Hey, friend. Anybody willing to share? When you hear yourself, when you're being really hard on yourself? Yes, of course. I'm doing great. Thanks, friend. I actually got YouTube and Periscope. So if you hear me responding to 2 different conversations, bear with me. All right, Rob. Okie dokie. So it's to become of the words that we're using. And then can you hear the tone? Right? Yes. Elizabeth says, I can hear the words sometimes, and when they are hurtful, I correct them immediately. Beautiful. Important, Elizabeth. That is huge. That is huge for so many of us, especially when someone criticizing us or being abusive or neglectful of us growing up, we don't even hear the inner critic because this was normal. Right? We expected to be treated poorly. And so we don't even hear that. So starting with just hearing the words and recognizing, wait a minute, I don't let other people talk to me this way. Why is it that I talk to myself this way? So hear the words and then hear the tone. What's the tone that you're recognizing that you're being spoken to? Right? And then as a follow-up on that, it's like, how does that make you feel? Right? Oh, doesn't feel good. Wanda says, yes, I've learned how to recognize the negative criticism and I do a reality check now. It's a constant process. I hear you, Wanda. I hear you. That reality check is crucial. Right? Because this stuff has been circulating in our mind for so long. Hey, Wesley. Hey, friend. That it's good to say, hey, stop. Maybe I need to talk to a friend or talk to someone and just see, wait a minute, this is what I'm hearing in my mind's eye or inside my head. Can you give me some feedback? Right? And this is, again, why this is important, is because very often when the inner critic is attacking us like this, sometimes with, yes, Sue says here, it's so easy to miss at times because it was normal. We don't see it until later. We don't see it until later. So, hey, friend, I appreciate your comments or questions on spirituality. I'm going to hold off on answering those right now, but I'm really glad that you're here. Rob says, I say for for ducking's sake under my breath a lot. I hear you. I hear you. I hear you. Hey, Sarah. Hey, friend. Welcome. And then we criticize ourselves for missing it. Exactly, Sue, right? It becomes a loop. It becomes a loop. So you're saying our inner critic talks to us, and so it's like being a different place. Well, the inner critic lives inside of us. Is often how we talk to ourselves. Very not helpful words that we use. The inner critic is trying to be helpful. The inner critic is trying to make sure you stay safe. The inner critic is trying to keep you on track so you keep up with the things you said that you were going to do, or your goals and things like that. But the thing is, the inner critic, what it gets wrong, it often attacks you, all of you. It's like it attacks who you are instead of just pointing out the things that the mistakes that you made, or the actions maybe where you fell short. But the inner critic, and often I explain, it was very hard for me to get constructive feedback from people for a long time, because when people would say something to me, I often described it is very hard for me to hear because I felt so critical of myself. It was like I would take what people would say and then I would add like 10 daggers to it and then take it in. So I would literally crush myself if in any way I wasn't perfect, right? Which is impossible, an excruciating way to live. But once I understood what was going on inside of me, right, then I was able to apply some self-compassion. No, I'm not from Texas. I am from Iceland, but born and raised in Iceland and in Portland, Oregon right now. I hear you, right, Sue, Elizabeth, right? We're talking about our inner critic wants to push us. Hey, friend, Portland, Oregon here. So this is where understanding, how the inner critic works. It started off as a good strategy for humans, but for a lot of us, especially when we have trauma and neglect or abuse, it becomes toxic, because what happens in our nervous system, or our inner critic questions people intentions, usually in a negative way. Yes, our inner critic will often expect the worst. Our inner critic will immediately, categorize people, put them in the box, and that's it. The inner critic is always looking out for your safety, right? And that, along with your body and your mind, your nervous system, always optimizing for safety. And when that happens like that, without our consent, really, with our logical, brain and our hearts, to pause and say, hey, wait a minute. I don't believe that's true. I'm going to give that person, right, the benefit of the doubt, or I'm going to assess this. I'm going to come back into my body right now. I'm going to take a few deep breaths, hand on my heart, help my body to calm down a little bit, feel my feet on the ground. All right, looking around, I'm safe right here, right now, even though my inner critic is telling me I need to protect myself from someone or something. And like I said, how we criticize ourselves is that when we are constantly shaming ourselves, when our nervous system feels shame, we are literally spiking the stress hormones into our nervous system, right? That pushes us into that fight or flight. So to do our best, sometimes one breath at a time, my friends, is to like turn up the volume on that inner critic, even pull down the words that the inner critic is saying. Where did this come from? Is this even true? I may have had the need to protect myself in this way when I was a child or some years ago when I didn't know better. But now that I'm here, right? Now that I'm here, I hear you, friend, right? I am taking responsibility for who I am and how I show up in the world today in this body right here, right now. And it helps to do so by becoming aware of this inner critic that, yes, was helpful, can be helpful, but when it goes too far, right, then we're really, really working against ourselves. And when our inner critic goes to town, right, you're never good enough, don't do that, you're not safe, it's not okay, right? Elizabeth says, I think it's important to find balance between the toxic pushing and not being motivated to improve. I'm struggling with that. Exactly, Elizabeth. Absolutely. It is that fine balance. Absolutely. Sue, for me, it's about self-acceptance, accepting that I am good enough as I am right now, right here, right now. Absolutely, sweet lady. And that goes for all of you. You are all of you, right? Good enough, always. Actually, more than enough, more than good enough. Right here, right now. Absolutely. Given what you've been through, given what you know, right? You are more than enough. And Wanda says, yes, Elizabeth, especially when you grow up in a household where criticism was harsh, but was called constructive. Oof. Yes, Wanda, I hear you. Sue says, it's the antidote to perfectionism for me. Beautiful, Sue. Beautiful. And that's exactly it. To understand, we all have our word or something that, we long to hear or to feel or to be validated. When we were maybe younger or children. So you can do that now. So, right, become that parent or that protector that you needed. You can do that now. And to remind yourself, there is no such thing as perfection. No such thing as perfection. So you're doing a beautiful job, right? Like Wanda said, when you grow up where criticism was harsh but called constructive, it's just that, I mean, that's abusive in my book. Just like because a lot of how we used to, be constructive or even raise children, we were shaming. We were being shamed. And when people say they do things in the name of love, oh, no wonder we don't trust love. Question from Vincent. Can we help a family member who is usually being overtaken by their inner critic? That's a very good question. Well, here's the thing. We cannot help people, right, to shift their perspective, but we can do our best to be positive, to be empowering, to encourage them to look at their strengths and their positive sides and their successes and the things that they have done. Because this inner critic, that loop we get stuck in, right? It becomes, we've talked about it here, it can almost feel like, we went as far as to talk about it being, we're addicted by it. We're addicted to, and I think often for a lot of people, that's also where like gossiping about other people or just focusing on negativity can come from. So you can model how to be different, how to choose to not to engage in that conversation, support them in changing their state of being, because often the loop that we're stuck in is being fed by something about how we feel. So if we can help people move their bodies, get up, walk, to shift, then we can often sometimes shift how we are, the inner dialogue. So yes. Elizabeth says, brainwashed to study all day long, neglecting my own playful social needs. I hear you, Elizabeth. I'm sorry, my friend. As you can see here by Sue's comment, you're not alone. You are not alone. Thank you, Sue. Vincent, Sue also says, don't criticize them for it. Excellent point, Sue, right? Don't criticize them for being so critical of themselves, right? It may be a way of being. It may be hard for them to see. It may be hard for them to see that there's a different way to be. But absolutely, the best way we can support other people is to model a different way, So let me turn to our Facebook page where I set up our questions for today about abuse survivors have an abusive inner critic. In order to silence this inner critic, we not only have to become aware of these negative thoughts, but also had to feel, right? We have to feel them, understand them, get clear about what's driving the inner critic. You're welcome, Vincent. This helped me to make contact with my sad, helpless little girl, my inner child. Hey, Jiv, thanks for being here. I appreciate it. I have 2 live streams going right now, so unfortunately, I'm not taking on any video chats right now, but I'm glad you're here. Thanks for posting, for being here. And if you want to share a question or comment, thank you. So, so the 2 questions that I asked, what has your inner critic said to you today? And how did you respond? So, right? Now that we've talked a little bit about the inner critic, hey, Arizona, welcome. I'm waving you back from Portland, Oregon. What has your inner critic said to you today and how did you respond? So, not good things. I hear you. So Wanda shared with us, and she gave me permission to share with you. She says, today, my inner critic is running rampant. I have had several deaths recently, friends going through crisis, and it's beyond my control for it to get better. I know it's beyond my control, but that doesn't change my desire for them not to be in pain. I hear you, Wanda. I hear you, my friend. These are hard times. Lots of people going through hard times right now. And it is hard. It is hard when we are empaths and feel deeply and care deeply. Self-compassion is more important than ever, my friend. More important than ever. I hear you, Elizabeth. I hear you. Hold on. I'm going to finish sharing Wanda's comment. So thank you, Wanda. Right? It starts by recognizing it is hard when other people suffer or are in pain. It is hard. It is very hard. Our hearts literally hurt. They do. Absolutely. So be gentle with yourself. She goes on to say, I've been telling myself for the last few days that it's nothing I can do about the situation of my friends and that it's okay to care about them and want the situation to get better. But first, I must release the tension in my body. I am resting and meditating in an attempt to calm my muscles that have tensed up. While performing a full body scan, I repeatedly stated that my body is important to me and I will continue to do what I continue to work on, calming my muscles. Beautiful. Beautiful, Wanda, because it's exactly what you described, right? When we feel other people's hurt, it hurts. And when it hurts, our bodies, right, start to contract. We get tense. We start to hold and protect ourselves against the hurt. But then after a while, right, we are so wound up, we can barely breathe. So I understand, Wanda. I understand, my friend. That's why moving our bodies, finding a way to help your body relax. Sometimes one breath, one gentle moment at a time is, comforting ourselves is the most generous act of compassion we can do for others. Because the more we can tend to our hearts, it expands our capacity to hold and sit with others when they're struggling through their suffering and their pain. And there is so much going on. Yes, that was me for a few days in fetal position in pain. I am so sorry, Wanda. I'm so sorry, Wanda. And that's, I want to just tell you how, as someone who is empathic and highly intuitive, I am very selective about watching the media or who I hang out with, where do I go, because my heart, and then I'm not serving, my people if I don't take really good care of my heart. So it is important that we notice and take really good care of ourselves. And I know, Wanda, your big, generous heart, you want to help so many. And I know you already do, sweet friend. So please be gentle with yourself and don't be hard on yourself, right? Yes, it's not your job. It's not your job, right? It's not your job. And if I can just, share a little side note, I mean, it's like the last few days, I've had to be a part of some interventions for people that are really suffering, really struggling. And last Saturday, I was asked to attend a meeting for survivors that there was a lot of anger and hurt in the room. And it is hard, but what I have learned, the best thing I can do for people when they're hurting is to stay connected to my heart and to see the people in the room and trust. I believe in them. I trust that they too will come through this hurt the same way I have been through that hurt. And that I just keep, seeing them over and over and over again. Meaning I'm just visualizing them, feeling better, feeling their bodies being calm, that their hearts are restored. Good, Wanda. That's what your daughter is telling you, gentle and firm, saying it, making me get up. Exactly. That's it. That's the greatest gift we can give people, even when they're struggling, is that, no matter what you're going through, right? Yes, I'm going to sit here. I'm not going to turn away from you. I know I cannot crawl inside of you and make it go away, but I believe in you. I know this hurts. I know it sucks. And I know it, may feel so big that you don't know how you're going to breathe through it, but I'm going to be here. I'm going to stay here. Right. And I know I know I'm holding this space for you, that on the other side of this, you will be okay. You will be okay. You will be okay. So thank you for sharing, Wanda. Thank you, my friend. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And keep really taking good care of your heart and your body, your beautiful temple. Because we need you, my friend. We need you. We need you. Absolutely, Sue. She says, yes, we need and deserve love and connection. Elizabeth says, I'm building a connection with my love interest, but my inner critic says that I don't deserve that relationship. Right, Elizabeth? That's exactly right. Once you hear that inner critic, you can intervene. You can intervene, loving but firm. That is not true. You deserve love and connection. You deserve love and connection. I hear you, Wanda. I hear you, Wanda. I hear you, my friend. And that's where my grounding in my body, my meditation practice helps me. That's also as an energy healer, using Reiki. I energetically protect myself. So I am just here to serve. I'm here to hold space. But I'm not here to take it on, right? I'm just serving love. I'm just here to channel love and to keep my personal self to the side. So, but it takes practice. It takes practice. And I'm human too. And there are times where it doesn't always work perfectly, but one day at a time. It feels strange when you say that one should also take care of oneself too, but it's true. Yes, Vincent. Absolutely. Absolutely. It's our job, my friends, to take care of ourselves, right? Whose responsibility is you, right? I'm my responsibility to take care of my body, my mind, my emotions, my health, my well-being, my peace, my happiness. It's all my responsibility. And the beauty is, yes, we need people. Yes, we need connection. But there's so much I can do to fulfill that for myself first. So I'm not going out there trying to fill an empty hole, but I'm going out there with something to give, right? Connecting from a place of abundance instead of a place of scarcity or desperation or, low self-esteem. Let's see here. There was another comment, Vincent. I feel a responsibility to take care of people around me, but I usually don't think much about myself. You're not alone, Vincent. You're not alone, my friend. Absolutely. We are very good at tending to other people. And for many of us, it started as a survival strategy, right? Because maybe we'll get our needs met from these people if we take care of them, right? Maybe then they will give back to us. So there's a little bit of an agenda, or we'd rather focus on them because we don't want them to focus on us. Because then either we struggle with receiving or we struggle with opening up the connection. So it's better to be directing the energy that way instead of being open to receiving. So, and again, no judgment. It's just how we've survived. It's how we've survived. Elizabeth says, my inner voice is starting to speak to me in English because most of my healing journey takes place in English. I hear you, Elizabeth. It's interesting that you say that because I did a lot, I'm a native from Iceland. And so born and raised in Iceland, I did most of my healing in English. And there was a few times when my therapist would encourage me to talk about things in Icelandic early on in my healing journey. And it was interesting. I would kind of pause and go inside, and then I'm like, really, I don't have the words. I wouldn't have the words. But then I moved to Iceland for a couple years in 2004. And when I lived there, I actually went and I joined a support group in Iceland because I wanted to talk about this and process this also in my native tongue. And it was very powerful, very healing. It was like another dimension, another layer. So I totally understand. So let's see, a couple of comments here on Periscope. Best way to get back and grounded when a person just thinks their world is out of control. It is good to get back to their bodies. Hold on, I'm going to do one thing at a time. Thomas is asking, come back to the breath if they can slow down their breath. Tapping is also powerful. But coming back to their, recognizing how their breathing is doing, if they can feel their feet on the ground. I'm also a big fan of butterfly hugs. This is like EMDR. So anybody else who wants to do this with me, if you're feeling some tension in your body, Thomas just asked for how to get back to being grounded. Also, something that we call reorient. We can look around the room, do whatever we can to bring ourselves in the present moment, right? When we think our world is out of control, we're either in the past or worrying about the future. But right now, in this moment, right, I can look around the room. I can rotate, roll my neck. That actually stretches the muscles on the side of your neck. That actually signals to the brain, because when we feel scared, we hold ourselves tight to protect ourselves, and that keeps the signal going to the mind. Yes, you need to protect yourself. Things are out of control. But if we can push our shoulders back and down, slow down our breath, feel our feet on the floor, even, with our toes, grab the floor, and even just hold ourselves tight, and then relax. These are a few very quick things someone can do, Thomas. I'm so sorry, Cheryl, about your loss. You're welcome. You're welcome, Thomas. Glad you're here. Glad you're here. Excellent. Thank you, Elizabeth. Yeah, that's right, Sue. Sue was, I also got comments going on here on YouTube. So to my Periscope friends who think I'm nuts responding to something, they don't see what's going on. You love the butterfly hug? Yes. So just keep doing it for a while. Tapping, you're crossing the midline of your brain. You're activating both sides of your brain. So just keep tapping. You can also do this on your knees, just crossing your hands and laying them flat on your legs. Just tap. And just notice how your breath slowly starts to slow down. There are all kinds of tips and tricks we can do to change our state of being, like how the body is experiencing, how it's feeling. We can change how we hold ourselves. It changes how we feel and think about ourselves. So let's see here. Sue shared with us, answering the 2 questions about what has your inner critic said to you today? And how did you respond? It's great to have examples. So thank you, Sue. Thank you, Wanda. Sue says, today I've been preparing to go on a trip, a process I've always found stressful. My inner critic was telling me that I'd never get everything done in time, and I was bound to forget something important. And look, I couldn't even decide what to wear on the journey. And that was without the thought of what if something went wrong on the trip? If I missed the train or something. It took me a while to realize what was going on, and I'd got pretty anxious, right? Isn't it amazing, right? When we could use a compassionate, kind, loving friend, our inner critic goes right into, see, I told you, you're not going to get it right. You're going to do it wrong. You're going to be late. You're going to mess it up. Not helpful at all. So, but you caught it, right? You finally realized it, Sue. You got it. She says here, but eventually I stopped. I took some deep breaths and remembered that this is perfectionism showing up again, and with the constant fear of getting it wrong. So I reassured myself that I had plenty of time and that it was unlikely that I'd forget anything important because, of course, she says, as a recovering perfectionist, I've already prepared pretty thoroughly. There are lists. I'd love to see those lists, Sue, right? I know those lists. She says, and I reminded myself that actually it was getting anxious that was making decisions so hard. So I sat for a few minutes with a cup of coffee. And after that, the preparations went more smoothly. And now I am ready to go in the morning. Beautiful. Beautiful, right? Even just getting anxious is making it way worse, right? And you reminded yourself, no, this is not my first rodeo. This is not my first trip. I've taken some journeys lately. I have packed my suitcase before, right? This was your day. Because again, the part of us that is stored in our amygdala, right? That fight or flight center, the one with the emotional reaction stamp on it, that part doesn't have a time stamp on it. When that gets triggered or activated, you know, the brain thinks, oh, this is happening now, right here, right now. So the brain needs an adult to supervise, to come back in and say, hey, actually, that was in the past. I'm right here. It's not happening. We are okay. I'm okay right here, right now, as I'm packing this. This is working out quite well, actually. But it's not helpful when our brain just sneaks in there and the inner critic goes down the list of all the things that could possibly go wrong. And then we're down the chute of anxiety and worry. So beautiful job, Sue. Beautiful job. And life is what? Full of opportunities for us to practice. Is that generalized anxiety when it goes on for years? Well, I am not here to, diagnose. Yes, but if, you feel there's been some anxious thoughts and feelings for a long time, chances are yes. But I also would like to suggest that anxiety is way more common than we realize, because like what has come up in the sharing here earlier is that, we end up feeling bad for being anxious we feel anxious about not, having our feelings. And so it just creates this circular state of uncertainty of being, because we don't complete what our bodies or our wounds are asking of us, right? When we repress, avoid, or distract ourselves from being present and feeling our feelings, then we really never settle what's really going on. Why am I feeling anxious? What is the worry about? And when we turn and face it, I know, scary at times, but look at, okay, why am I feeling this? What's my body trying to tell me? What's the underlying thought or feeling? Or is it coming from my inner critic? Is it coming from my, inner child? Or is it coming from my shame? And once we can drill down what it is, then we can, right? Shame is a liar, right? Fear is a liar. The inner critic, don't trust that voice too much. There may be a little bit something that needs my attention too, but it's never as bad as my inner critic thinks it is. So again, this is where becoming the parent and the protector that we needed, and we support ourselves in kind of reparenting ourselves, growing up again, going through the stages of learning emotional regulation, how to talk about our feelings, how to talk about our struggles in a healthy and safe way, then we don't feel as anxious as much. And when the anxiety comes up, yep, it may sneak up on you. But once you become aware, wait a minute, I think this is anxiety. I wonder what happened. I wonder what set me off. And we don't turn on ourselves for feeling this way. We are gentler with ourselves. Sue says, yep, tomorrow is another opportunity to practice. Isn't that true? Isn't that true? So to wrap it up today, my friends, thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much. Beautiful sharing, your comments, your love, your encouragement is truly felt far and wide. And of course, I pulled a card for us. Beautiful card. One day, maybe this is for you, so pay attention. One day she woke up and decided to love herself more than she ever thought possible. So now I'm curious, is this something you needed to hear today? It's always perfect. These cards are always perfect. What do you say? What do you say, my friends? Is this for you? Because the truth is, you already have all that you need to heal and restore. Right there, right now. The same part of you that protects you, that keeps you safe, that keeps you going. Your nervous system, that same nervous system is also hardwired to learn self-compassion, kindness, most importantly for yourself. This is the gift of the healing journey, right? I never ever thought I would ever feel this much love and appreciation and respect for myself. But now I do. And now I'm relentless. Relentless. Always, there's always, more to learn, more love to receive, to expand, to accept, to receive. But it's worth it. You're worth it. So with that, my friends, I wish you all beautiful holidays. I will be here in a week. I'm going to celebrate. I'm not going to be here on Tuesday, but Thursday I will be back. So same time, same place, 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on December 26th. So, but if anybody here would like to learn more about our closed Facebook group, where I post the page of the day from the group, and then group members share their journal entries and their healing journeys. I'm a huge fan of groups because I know I would not have made it if I had not had a tribe of people that supported me and validated me and encouraged me, and literally were on speed dial on those days where I'm like, oh my God, I'm losing my mind. This is hard. I don't know how to get through this day. We need those people. We need that kind of support. And you are all worth it. You are worth it. So thank you again, sweet, sweet friends. Thank you for being here. It's always an honor and a privilege for you to share your journey with me. I'm so grateful for each and every one of you. So have a beautiful holiday, safe travels, Sue, and I'll see you guys next week. Sounds good.